Yo, what is up, boys and girls of the Mirror Cult? Welcome back to another Mirror Recap episode. This is the 8th week Mirror Recap. We are getting into the final week. We'll try to make another Mirror Recap after week 9. I think it's just, we shouldn't make a Mirror Recap. We should just make a analysis on MPL ID teams, right? A full analysis on all their last week 9 matches. But unlike the previous episodes, today's going to be a bit special because if we take a look at the standings, folks, there is actually a chance for there to be 3 possible tiebreakers. RRQ Hoshi, Bigetron Alpha for the upper brackets. That could be a tiebreaker depending on the results of the next matches. Geek Fam and Alter Ego, there's a possibility that they are also going to be fighting for a spot in the seeding of number 3 to 6. And for DEWA United, Alter Ego, that's also possible. So there's a possible tiebreaker for RRQ Bigetron for upper brackets, Alter Ego DEWA for playoffs, and Geek Fam Alter Ego for seeding of playoff spot. Sorry. But yeah, I know it sounds confusing, but I'll go through the scenarios to make it even easier for you guys, to make it very, very easy, okay? So let's bring up the first one. This is the tiebreaker scenario. Thank you so much to MPL ID, by the way. Thank you so much to my scriptwriter, Mr. Dick, for giving me this. But this will be for the position of 5th and 6th place. So again, this is based on seeding, all right? Why does seeding matter? All right, I'll explain it to you. In MPL ID, we don't have the gauntlet format like in Philippines. We still have the upper bracket, lower bracket, day 1 play-ins type shit. So top 2 teams will go to upper brackets. The 4 teams that are 3rd place to 6th place will be going into the play-in stage, which is day 1. So these teams have a chance to be eliminated on day number 1. The seeding for the play-in playoff spot is 3rd place will go up against 6th place. So in this case, Bigetron versus Alter Ego. 4th place will go up against 5th place, which is Geek Fam versus Fnatic Onic. So that's how the seeding will look like, all right, for day number 1 of playoffs. That's why seeding matters. And if it's Geek Fam and Alter Ego, if they're both fighting for 5th and 6th place, then it will matter a lot. Because I don't think Geek and Alter Ego want to meet Bigetron or Fnatic Onic. Both of them are looking really, really strong right now. Okay, tiebreak scenario for Geek Fam and Alter Ego. This is the decider for 5th and 6th place. Scenario number 1, Alter Ego wins both matches 2-1 against other teams. They have 2 more matches, I believe, right? And if they win 2-1 against both their next match opponents, then they can actually tie up with Geek Fam. Or this could also happen. Geek loses both matches 1-2 against other teams. So it's either one. If either one happens here, we're going to have a tiebreaker scenario for 5th and 6th. And I got information that if it is going to be a tiebreaker match, if there will be a tiebreaker match, we will have an extra day of MPL Indonesia. Usually we only have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days. If there is a tiebreaker match that can if the tiebreaker match does happen, we will have a 4th day, which is going to be Monday. So let's move on to the next one, which is this is the tiebreaker scenario for DEWA United versus Alter Ego. Scenario number 1. There are a lot of scenarios for this one, so you can read it yourselves too. DEWA wins both matches 2-0 against other teams. Alter Ego loses 1-2 and wins 2-0 against other teams. So Alter Ego needs to lose 1-2 once and win 2-0 once. Meanwhile, DEWA needs to win both their matches 2-0 against their next match opponents, which I think scenario 1 is very unlikely because DEWA United have RRQ Hoshi next and TLID. Okay, they have Rebellion next and Fnatic Onic. So it's a bit unlikely. But Alter Ego winning both their matches is a bit more unlikely because Alter Ego will have Fnatic Onic and Bigetron Alpha in their last week. So yeah, tough week for Alter Ego. Anyways, scenario 2. DEWA wins 2-0 and 2-1 against other teams. So they're going to have to win 2-0 against Rebellion, 2-1 against Fnatic Onic. And Alter Ego loses 0-2 in their first match and wins 2-0 against against their final opponent. That's scenario 2 for this tiebreaker to happen. Scenario 3, there's a typo there. DEWA wins both matches 2-1 against the other teams. Alter Ego loses 0-2 and wins 2-1 against other teams. That'll make the thingamajiggy. That'll make the standings tied again. Scenario 4, DEWA wins 2-0 and loses 2-0 against other teams. Alter Ego loses 0-2 and 1-2 against other team. All right. So if Alter Ego lose both their matches and DEWA just win 1, which is very possible, scenario 4 is probably the most likely thing to happen. Okay, this is like the most likely scenario to actually happen because if you take a look at it, okay, DEWA wins 2-0 and lose 2-0. If we take a look at this, they will have Rebellion. I think they should be able to beat Rebellion 2-0. And against Fnatic Onic, this should be a 2-0 loss against Fnatic Onic, if I'm not, like, if we're not capping here, right? And Alter Ego, in that scenario, needs to lose 0-2 and 1-2. I think they can lose 0-2 to Fnatic Onic and lose 1-2 to Bigetron. This is the most possible scenario to happen out of all the scenarios, in my opinion. And then we have scenario 5, which is DEWA wins 2-0 and loses 2-1 against other teams. So it's the same. Alter Ego lose both matches 1-2 against other teams. Oh. Okay, this is pretty likely too. So scenario 4 and scenario 5 are very, very likely. So it's either DEWA needs to win 2-0 and lose 2-0, and then Alter Ego lose 2-0 and lose 1-2. And then, yeah, scenario 5 and scenario 4, these are the two most likely scenarios to actually play out in Season 14 in the final week. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think scenario 1, 2, 3 is possible? Because honestly, I don't think so. DEWA having to win 2 matches against Rebellion, sure. Fnatic Onic, 2-0. 2-1 maybe. 2-0? You know, I'm not sure about that. Especially Alter Ego having to win both their, or like one of their matches 2-0. They can do it. They beat RRQ, but still, these teams are a bit different. You know, Fnatic Onic and Bigetron, they actually like fighting the chaotic game. They're actually pretty good at going up against the chaotic team. So, yeah. Now we have the final tiebreaker scenario, and this is where it gets juicy because it's the upper bracket slot. To secure upper brackets, Bigetron needs to win both matches 2-0 against other teams. So they need to win against Geek Fam 2-0 right here, and they need to win against Alter Ego 2-0. If that happens, then they're still going to have to rely on RRQ losing both their matches 2-1. And it's possible. Don't get me wrong. It's possible. They can definitely lose against TLID. But losing against RBL, RRQ, no. I think there's a more likely scenario. So let's take a look at scenario 2. Bigetron wins both matches 2-1 against other team. RRQ loses both matches 0-2 against other teams, which is, I don't think they're going to lose 0-2 against both Liquid and Rebellion. Scenario 2 is the most unlikely to happen. Scenario 3 though. Scenario 3. Bigetron wins 2-1 and 2-0 against other teams. RRQ loses 0-2 and 1-2 against other teams. This one is a bit more possible. But I don't know. Honestly, looking at it, most of these scenarios are pretty impossible. I think for Bigetron, just play your game. You know, don't think about the issues. Just try to get 2-0, 2-0. If they get 2-0, 2-0, then maybe they can make it. But yeah, RRQ just need one win, guys. The reason why it doesn't matter, why all the scenarios need RRQ to lose is because they technically only need one more win. One more win is all they need to secure upper brackets. 12 wins is the benchmark. Because if Bigetron wins both their matches, they can't get to 12. They can only get to 11. So that's why for RRQ, all the scenarios for Bigetron to make it to upper brackets would be if RRQ lose all their matches. It doesn't matter 2-1, 2-0, blah, blah, blah. That will come later. But yeah, Bigetron can actually still chase the net game win of Bigetron Alpha. Bigetron can still chase the net game win of RRQ Hoshi. Those are all of the playoff tiebreaker scenarios for playoffs for the regular season. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think it's possible? I personally don't think the Bigetron RRQ one is possible. I think Geek Fam and Alter Ego DEWA. Alter Ego DEWA is the most possible one. Geek Fam Alter Ego is okay. Like, they're the second most possible one. But RRQ Bigetron, I think that one is the least possible to happen. But who knows? It's MPL ID Season 14. If RRQ suddenly lose to RBL, I would be pretty shocked. Honestly, I'd be just super shocked. But who knows? This is MPL ID Season 14. Sometimes teams have been able to pull off upsets. Rebellion beat Fnatic Onic. Fnatic Onic aren't that good, but RRQ have lost against Alter Ego too, and it's possible. I'm just saying it doesn't look possible, but everything is possible. I will still say, though, that I personally am banking on the fact that Alter Ego DEWA happens. Not so much that Bigetron, RRQ, or Geek Fam Alter Ego happens. Anyways, though, any tiebreaker would be cool. I think you guys agree too. But let me know what you guys think about the tiebreakers. Do you guys think that... Which one do you guys think is going to happen? Or not? Or it's not going to happen? All of the seasons before this, I think 3 seasons, back to back to back, we have had chances for tiebreakers, but it has never happened. So this would be history. This would literally go down in history as the first ever tiebreaker situation in the regular season for playoffs. Yeah. Let's move on to finally getting to the teams. All right. So we'll start with the bottom team, Rebellion Esports. All right. So for Rebellion Esports, this week was it's weird to say that Rebellion actually did improve. They don't look as horrible as they did in the first 7 weeks of MPL ID. So Rebellion Esports, they've kind of fixed their draft in a way. I've been enjoying their drafts quite a bit. All their it's not all their games. Sometimes their games, they still have really bad drafts, which is again something that needs to change for Rebellion next season. But we all knew from the start that Rebellion would not make it to playoffs. So let's just get that out of the way. Rebellion have improved in that sense, right? Where the drafts have been looking better. We'll get into it in a bit, but they lost 2-1, 2-1 against EVOS and then against Geek Fam. And against EVOS, they actually had a chance to 2-0 EVOS. They won game 1. Game 2 looked really, really good up until some of these members lost sight of crucial win conditions. Game 3 against Geek Fam, that was supposed to be an RBL 2-1 victory too. But also, they lost sight of their win conditions. That has been the story of Rebellion. I feel like it's a pretty good... I've seen a lot of people say that TNC's problems also is composure and ending out games or finishing out games. That's the same for Rebellion. And I have a good example for that. So let's move to here, okay? This is one of the examples that I'm going to be talking about for Rebellion because... Yikes, man. I can't believe they lost this game. Game 2. This is game 2. So they were already leading 1-0, all right? The position. Just look at this draft. Firstly, the Gatot Kacha just gets you wins in Season 14, all right? In the last, after the patch. After the patch, Gatot Kacha is just amazing. This draft is so good. Back in the day, you would actually see the Edith here instead of the Gatot Kacha for Rebellion, and they would still play the Akai Roam. Akai Roam is honestly not a bad pick if you have someone in the XP to initiate. And that's what they had here in the game. They had Gatot Kacha as the main initiator. This is more of a follow-up and a cancel / counter-engage measure. Because if you take a look at it, this pick is so good against this, and this. All the initiating tools and all the team fighting tools that they have for EVOs will technically get countered by the Akai. But X-Win loses sight of that. All the way in the early game. Okay, this is what? Let me just see the timer. 2041, right? 2041. We'll see that 2041 again. But here it is, right? Let's just take a look at the early game. The early game, how did it go so smooth? Rebellion. All right, to be fair, this was just well played to Rebellion. There was nothing much in their composition that could, Swalo getting the Primal Wrath is also really good, but on top of things, it's just them playing the team fights better than EVOS Glory, right? It was just a better team fight for the side of RBL. That's how they were able to get the win here at the end of the day. So let's skip this. They got 2 kills for 1 turtle and 1 kill, so it's a fair trade, whatever. But this draft for Rebellion, their power spike isn't the first turtle. Honestly, they could be happy just giving away the first turtle, trading across the board, and then looking for turtle number 2. Now, why do I say that? Is because the Akai will be level 4 by turtle number 2. And that's the main win condition here. As long as the Akai is level 4, has the ultimate, there is no chance that EVOS Glory can actually initiate on any of the members of Rebellion. And we'll see this play out for Rebellion here, all right? Just take a look at this fight. Again, they're just poking here and there. Dreams obviously doesn't want to commit his Divine Judgment onto the Akai because cars can just follow up. Everybody can follow up. Dreams goes in. What does X-Win do? He walks in and he heavy spins. He does the heavy spin there, pins 2 members down. Just like that, it is Dreams using or basically already losing out on everything. And, okay, EVOS, got to give credit to EVOS for fucking blundering this too. Not having the Divine Judgment, having the Nether Realm, but going in instead of just playing for the neutral objective after seeing the heavy spin used up. But anyways... You could see the vision for RBL, right? They want to use their layering of CC with the heavy spin, with the Gatot Kacha Avatar of the Guardian to just constantly rotate over and win out in the neutral objective battles, which they were able to do. Aether's Retry is fucking questionable here, but we won't talk about that, right? They still got the team fight win. It was a 3-0, but it was only traded for the turtle. So no problem. And then the third turtle spawns in. What happens? It's the same story, especially with a 2,000 gold lead. Whenever they looked for an initiation, just take a look at this, right? Psychots in the midst of it all, just trying to go in. Dreams goes in for the Divine Judgment, and then X-Win zones Annabelle. Aether gets a free retry. And in these team fights, the Netherrealm just becomes quite useless, especially in the early game where Swalo can also steal the Netherrealm, can also steal the Primal Wrath, and on top of that, cars can reinitiate whenever they've already used their resources. So, GG. The drafts was 100% towards RBL. Like, RBL won the drafts here. And then throughout the game, it's just the same story. Every time EVOS would try to contest neutral objectives, there would always be cars zoning them away. There would always be Aether going for the neutral objective, and there will always be X-Win using his ult just to screen. Notice how X-Win never uses his ult when it's unnecessary. This is core to this composition winning the game. All he needs to do is disengage for the team. If EVOS Glory look for a suppression, all X-Win needs to do is pop the ultimate to get his backliners some safety. But he didn't do that towards the end. He started looking for some weird-ass picks. And I think it started here. Right? Like, very unnecessary stuff here. Lord came in. Lord's dead because the Holy Defense already popped in. He decides to jump in. Very unnecessary stuff. Because I don't know what it is, but the calls were definitely off here. Everybody didn't want to go in because there was no Lord. There was only one cannon minion, and Evo still have all their resources ready. So he ends up wasting Flicker. They get chased down, and even when they get chased down, they won, right? They still win. That's how much they can get away with, having, you know, this draft and winning out in the early game so hard. After that, though, this is where the disaster class of a performance comes through from X-Win. He just starts looking for plays. He starts playing the Akai like a fucking Kufra. He starts playing the Akai like a TieBreaker Alpha. He just looks for sets. Gets the Lord. Pretty good stuff, right? You try to go for the siege. You get the mid lane. That's good. Even though the waves could have definitely been managed better. I have no idea why they didn't decide to manage their waves here. I think after getting the Lord, it should have been just very easy for some of them, like Cars, to stay in the bottom lane. For some of the others to look towards going up top to clear out the waves. Because now they're so scattered. Their positioning makes, like, I don't know what they're doing here for the most part, right? I understand that they possibly are scouting for EVOS, maybe looking for a Kaja carry, you know, pick off somewhere on the map, but they should have been able to utilize the waves properly, in my opinion, right? Because now they still got a base turret off of this, so I shouldn't be complaining, whatever. Even though their wave manipulation was ass, it's still a turret, right? They were still able to get mid lane, they were still able to get top, which is good. This is amazing. X-Win uses ult to zone, which is good. Which is good. This is not... Okay, not yet. Disaster class, not yet. X-Win still uses his ult to zone. Even though that was... yeah, he didn't really zone anyone there with his ult. He just popped it in and everybody killed him. But whatever. Evo's got a few turrets. Whatever. That's still no problem. But then they start going in here, which is good. All right, they get the orange buff. Blah, 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 blah. Let's skip over. And then the disaster class happens. All Rebellion need to do, especially here when there's 20 seconds left for the Lord to spawn, is calm down. You can look for the base turret here. You can try to get it. But if EVOS Glory fight it, you should just back away. They see them, and then they lose out one member. Honestly, you know what? Starting from this, like, off the bat, they should have just never gone for this. With Matt so open like that. Like, Annabelle walks in, and no one's there to peel. Really, no one's there to peel. Everybody is positioned to actually zone. There's no... It's like literally not necessary to go for this base turret. I understand what they're trying to do. They have two base turrets though, and they have the Lord, and their composition is just built for neutral objectives. So because of this, they threw the game real hard. They started making like some plays that are very unnecessary. Still got the Lord. And then, take a look at this. Take a look at this. X-Win tries to go for the Akai, the TieBreaker plays. You don't need to do that. I understand you want to look for a pickoff, but you really don't need to do that. All you need to do, especially because you have a Natan, is play up front, wait for EVOS to make a move, and then pop your ult. And then Matt will be able to free hit. Now the ult is wasted. Dreams has ult. They should back away, but instead they stay and look for a fight. It's just, what the fuck is going on? Did they not? I don't know, man. All the way to the start, bro. It's having the ultimate. It's having the heavy spin that wins you the team fights, right? Because no one is able to get close to Matt. No one's able to get close to the neutral objectives. But now without the ult, they continue to fight. They lose out there, and it's still okay. Look at how much they're getting away with it, all right? This is like the best example of winning draft doesn't equal to winning game, because they are getting away with so much shit. If this was like a 50-50 draft, they would have lost in the first 12 minutes, because holy shit. If this draft requires them to execute their game plan perfectly at all times, this would be a 10-minute game. EVOS would shit on their chest, bro. But let's move on. Again, this was okay. They got brands. You know what? This one is okay. Good look there, but like, and then, okay, this was a blunder by Matt. He should have just like hit the turret. Like Matt here should just flickered and went to the turret. He instead looked for these players, and yeah, that would have been endgame. X-Win was hitting. Matt could have hit. He had the... This was so winnable, man. I can't believe it. They just kept on looking for people. If, like, the Akai was already zoning them in the back, Matt flickered there. He could have just walked over and then started hitting the base turret, I guess. He also has the immortality here. But it was well played to EVOS. We'll give it over to EVOS. We'll give it over to EVOS. Whatever. You know, shout outs to EVOS. But then, again, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Now, it becomes too late for X-Win to do what he's been doing all the way from the start. And Sway Low keeps on fucking, like, tunnel visioning on just stealing Primal Wrath when the Netherrealm should be way more valuable later on in the game. It's just very, very sad, honestly. This game should have been a 2-0 win. The disaster class using the ult to just look for pickoffs is very unnecessary. And then, if that wasn't enough, you would think that they would make a, you know, they would learn from that mistake, right? Apparently not, because at Game 3 against Geek Fam, this is what happened. It's the same story again. It's just them, hold up, getting a 5,000 gold lead, winning super hard, poking down the turrets, and then for some reason, overstaying. This should have been like, okay, that was a good pull by a boy, but they really shouldn't have fought this, right? Like, X-Win got pulled there, no problem. They could still disengage. They decided to go for a fight. And again, Sway Low. Sway Low. The Primal Wrath isn't the best ult to take every single time, okay? We need to understand that. Especially here. I think, really, before he stole this, right? When did he steal it? He stole it somewhere here. No, he stole it. He stole quite a while ago. I think, especially for, like, rushes and trying to go for pickoffs, isn't the Netherrealm just better here when you want to go in and take these base turrets? Because, like, it's in their base. They have a Netherrealm to play with. Your Primal Wrath won't be useful anyways. You can't dive in. You can't enable your team with the Primal Wrath. Yet he took the Primal Wrath. The team died. It's still okay because they have a 3,000 gold lead, right? They lose a few turrets here and there. It's okay. They can still look for the fight later on in the team fights. Here, this is where, again, Sway Low steals Primal Wrath. I get it. Like, you're doing a lot of damage. You're carrying the team. Currently, you're 4-2. But you should really wait for a boy to show up, man, and try to get that Netherrealm. If a boy, like, hides super far away, then sure. Whatever. But yeah, they get this massive set. Imagine if they had the Netherrealm here. Because Geek Fam got saved by the Netherrealm. And oh my god, disaster class from Aether. I remember seeing this. Aether saved them from the if the Primal Wrath wasn't already like a problem, it could have been good here because they're all clumped up. Sway Low's doing damage. Aether saves the entire team. Oh my goodness. I'm very sorry, Vincent. You are not the worst jungler. Aether is for sure. But listen, if we have to compare Vincent and Aether, any of the MPL junglers and Aether, then we're going to be like, he's not a jungler, all right? He's not an MPL level jungler. So that's why I don't regard him as an MPL level jungler. Hello? What? He lost them the game. He literally saved Geek Fam. He was like, hey, fam, let me get you out of here. Let's move on. Let's just go to another team. Why am I spending so much time on this team? So, let's put Rebellion. Good luck season 15. I think that's still true. You know, good luck season 15. Or maybe rebuild, re-roster season 15. There you go. Thank you so much for this roster. You did okay. Yeah, let's move on. Next team we have is EVOS Glory. And again, I think for EVOS, I'm really just gonna... I understand, like, their execution is actually not bad in the games itself. They make a little mistakes here and there, so it's not gonna be like a super long segment like Rebellion that we had earlier. This is gonna be very, very simple for EVOS Glory. Just rebuild next season. I heard Theo's coming back. That's a rumor. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but I heard Theo's coming back. Other than that, rebuild. Just rebuild. Like, Annabelle is really good. Clockhood's really good. Everybody else, maybe Psychots could stay, honestly. We'll get a layer for Dreams. Get another roamer to replace Dreams. If the meta comes back for like these kind of like initiators, Dreams is still really good. But yeah, I honestly think that Annabelle's the only guy you can guarantee that will stay in EVOS Glory. All the other players need to be swapped out. They need a new everything. Okay. Yeah, that's all I have to say, because their execution is not bad. Their drafts aren't like horrible. Their drafts are okay at times. Sometimes they get outdrafted, but that's the name of the game. That's a MOBA. I just feel like it's just a mentality issue maybe right now and a player issue for EVOS Glory. Yeah, that's it. I don't really have anything to say for EVOS. So yeah, let's move on, I guess. For DEWA United, I will have to say that DEWA United Esports, shout out to this new roster, by the way, like the K's plus Azura roster, because I've been saying this for a while, but Azura fits this roster more than Watt. Watt fits the Hijume first lineup of DEWA United, but not this new lineup of DEWA United. Azura is a weak side goal laner. All he does is just, farm up and play the weak side, and he doesn't get solo killed. So it's very, very good. He also doesn't make unnecessary moves to carry the game, unlike Watt, who tries to carry the game a lot of times. But yeah, DEWA United, their main strength is still Ray. And I said this in the KB video that I did together with him, but I'll say it again. For DEWA United, the main problem is they had a lot of creativity in their initial lineup with Hijume, Mueza, Sorizo, Watt, and also, who am I missing here? And Ray? Did I just say Ray? Okay, yeah, with that lineup. After losing Hijume, they lost the creativity. And I can't blame the coaching staff for that. Maybe it's because, of a last-minute change of K, someone that's a free agent coming in to play for DEWA United, that the synergies doesn't click instantly. And they had to go from a very creative draft, from a very creative style of play where they can actually rely on their mechanics and take risky gambles around the map, to playing it very, very safe and template. Now for DEWA United, we almost never see Ray on pure assassins anymore. We see him on utility jungle, like the Alpha, and they play around the Alpha most of the times to get neutral objectives, to get the lead in the early game, and then to win. But that's not DEWA. That's not Ray. Ray is an assassin player. You need to try to enable Ray. I don't know if it's still possible to, try to enable Ray, but I think it's worth a shot in the playoffs. For now, I think this style will actually be able to beat teams like Rebellion, and they need a win against Rebellion. So, yeah, for DEWA, keep doing what you're doing. This template gameplay, it's not going to work against top teams, for sure. But all you need to do is win against Rebellion 2-0, and then try to get a game off of Fnatic Onic for this week. So, DEWA United, I'm going to have... I don't know. Let's, here, in the tier list. Do I move them up to mid-table? I don't think so. I honestly think they're a no playoff team, but they have a pretty good run. They have Rebellion, so they can actually make it to playoffs. But still, based on the playstyle, I really don't think they deserve to make it to playoffs yet. And even if they do, they're probably going to be... No, I'm not going to say probably. They are going to be knocked out in day number 1. It'll make for a very easy prediction. So if DEWA wants to qualify, sure, they can. But it will make for a very easy prediction. Alter Ego definitely deserves this slot. But I will move Alter Ego later, which by later I mean right now. Okay, so for Alter Ego, their strength is quite similar to DEWA United in a way, where their jungler is the main star and everybody just tries to enable him, right? But Alter Ego is the opposite of DEWA, where DEWA was very creative at the start and became very template towards the end. Alter Ego was very template at the start. All they were doing is literally just playing for Nile. It was literally Nile Esports. And to a certain extent, Alter Ego is still Nile Esports. But now some of their other players have stepped up. Owen on the Gatot Kacha has been doing so well. Nino has been doing amazing on the Khalid. I think he found a new hero there. And even Heiz has been quite impressive. So if Alter Ego stay like this and grow on the fact that, all their members can now step up, plus it's still Nile, being Nile, this team can make it to playoffs. I'm personally rooting for Alter Ego to make it to playoffs over DEWA United. I think Alter Ego are just so much better compared to DEWA United right now, based on week 8, right? Their performance is really good. They were able to beat RRQ Hoshi. Now, do I put them up here? No, because I still think they are a one-trick pony in a way. Whenever they get Gatot Kacha, their playstyle, the playstyle I was talking about earlier, because it shines through. They're always able to make it chaotic, rely on their mechanics. Everybody steps up because the Gatot Kacha is able to buy so much time, so much space, and win out their team fights because they revitalize and sustain. But when they don't get Gatot Kacha, they are so easy to read. TLID read them out. Game 1 gave Gatot Kacha to Alter Ego, lost against the Gatot Kacha. Game 2 picked it away. Game 3 banned it away. Alter Ego could not go and could not win, could not try their crazy, win conditions like they did against RRQ Hoshi. But still, impressive stuff up against RRQ Hoshi. I really, really think the RRQ Hoshi win, we can't take it away from Alter Ego. They were able to read out RRQ Hoshi's game, and we'll talk about RRQ Hoshi later. But yeah, Alter Ego, they rely on their chaotic nature, their chaotic team fights, and they just keep on fucking fighting, which will give a massive curveball at the start. But I'm hoping they change it a little bit, because in week number 9, with all the teams finally understanding what Alter Ego can do, especially with the Gatot Kacha, I hope they learn new heroes. For now, I will put Alter Ego to mid-table. I will move them from no playoffs to mid-table because I finally see potential in this lineup. There you go. Alter Ego moving up. Next up, we have Fnatic Onic, I believe, right? Is it Fnatic Onic? Yeah, we have Fnatic Onic. And Fnatic Onic were pretty impressive this week. Though I will have to say, I'm not really like fully convinced in their performance just yet. It was good against EVOS, but everybody's been able to beat EVOS, right? Except for RRQ in leg number 2. They have 3 total wins, so I'm not really gonna rate that Fnatic Onic win against EVOS. Though it was impressive still. He played the Kyrie played the Lancelot. They outclassed EVOS Glory. Shoutouts to Fnatic Onic for getting that dub. But I want to talk more about the real win for Fnatic Onic, which is against Bigetron Alpha. And even in their real win here against Bigetron Alpha, I'm not fully convinced that they won out completely. Because the way they won was game 2 purely through a Bigetron throw. I'll have to say that, and I will stand by that opinion. Game 1, they lost with the same draft, 8,000 gold lead, and they lost because they couldn't tank up the damage from the Alice, from the from the Angela, and the Gatot Kacha. Game 2 went for the exact same draft, banned out the Arlet, which is a pretty good adjustment, but still, it led to Bigetron actually fixing their mistakes and winning out in the early game to get to a very, very good point in the game. But then they threw. They went in for a random team fight after getting the base turret in the mid lane that would have been worth it. That could have gotten them a free Lord, but no, they decided to fight. Keyboy landed a hook. CW got a maniac because of the crossbow tang, and everybody just got shat on. That's why I'm not really convinced. I still think for Onic, their draft is very by the way, we'll get to this in Bigetron Alpha. We'll talk about it for Bigetron Alpha for game 3 because I have a lot to say about game 3 Bigetron Alpha and the throw for BTR. But yeah, Fnatic Onic, I still think they're really good because even though I'm not a big fan of their drafts, their players are amazing. That just shows it, right? Losing in game 1 to the draft that looks like it's just impossible to beat because 8,000 gold lead, they targeted people and they still couldn't get the win. Game 2, against any other team, Bigetron would have won even after the throw. But we got to give props to Fnatic Onic because these players are still fucking world class, bro. And they're getting to their world class level very slowly but surely. I think the first one to reach that world class level now is actually, Kyrie and CW. They're back to, very, very good, a very good level, at least. All of them were underperforming at the start of the regular season, and I really mean all 5. But now Kyrie and CW has started to go back to, normal form of Kyrie and CW. And Rez is doing okay. He's just playing Boots' role. I've never hated on Rez, nor will I ever hate on Rez, because he literally is just playing Boots' role in the team. All he's doing is enabling for the team on the Khalid, on the Edith, on every pick that he gets, on the Arlet even, right? So he's a type of player who will go 0-4, but will make space for Kyrie. On that point, that was what was lacking from Lutpi. So I saw a lot of people already hate on Rez, saying that he's 0-4, stuff like that, but that was literally Boots' job too. Boots was always 0-4, 0-3 on the Terizla. All he would do was get space for the team. And that's why I think Rez is up there too when it comes to performance. He's doing pretty well. Now it just comes down to Keyboy reaching the same level of performance of MSC last 2 years ago, and Suns. Suns is still underperforming in a way, I would say. Like, he's doing better than he was in the last 2 weeks, but if Keyboy and Suns go back to peak, they're back. Fnatic Onic would probably be back. And I don't know if they're going to win their 5th title, but they're looking real confident in the interview. And confident Fnatic Onic means bye-bye to all the other MPL ID teams. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe they are back. But yeah, let's move on to the tier list. And the tier list here for Fnatic Onic, I'm going to move them up here. Despite the fact that I still think, the drafts could use work, I think that's very easy to implement. Like, Yeb and Adi are very intelligent. They will be able to implement new strategies. Like, after seeing those mistakes, they can definitely work out like a formula to enable this team. And they've already kind of made that formula. Khalid Valentina into an assassin has been the main draft for them. So I will move Fnatic Onic up top to that side. Boom. All right, so next up we have Geek Fam. And for Geek Fam, okay, let me just put the big boy pants on, right? Let me just talk to you guys real quick. To all of the soy boys, pussy boys who who want everything sugar coated, who want the power of friendship and your cartoons endings, stuff like that. If you want a Disney ending, Geek Fam are a perfect team. They have no mistakes whatsoever. There is nothing they should do. They should just rely on the power of friendship, and they will be able to become the M6 champions and the MPL ID Season 14 champions. All right? Are you happy, soy boys? Okay, so now Soy Boys get the fuck out, all right? Let's talk some real MLBB here. Vincent is a fucking problem. I don't care if you think I hate him. I don't hate him. I've been saying this for a while now. I've said this last season. I've said this to brands, but these fucking Soy Boys apparently just don't like it when I say Vincent is the worst jungler. When I say Ray is the worst jungler last season, no problem, man. It's okay. When I say Brands is the worst gold laner, no problem. It's okay. When I say Vincent is the worst jungler for legitimate reasons, oh, this guy is hating on a player. Fuck you guys. Anyways, let's talk about Geek Fam. Vincent not having the hero pool he used to even pre-patch is a big problem for Geek Fam. Let's talk about it in this way. Before the patch hit, he was known for his Julian, Nolan, and Roger. And he was amazing on the Roger, especially. The Julian Nolan gets him by, right? He's able to get some space with the maneuverability of Julian and Nolan for the Turtles. And his retry game is still on point. Top 3 when it comes to retry, for sure. But now, all these 3 heroes have been nerfed. This is why it's time for a wake-up call now for Geek Fam. And they have been very, like, they've been struggling really hard in their last few matches. They almost lost against Rebellion. If it wasn't for a throw from Rebellion, they would have been 2-1 by Rebellion. Okay, let's leave it at that. You guys can watch the first Rebellion segment if you want to see the throw from Rebellion. But again, Roger's been nerfed. So now whenever he picks the Roger, after the patch, he's sitting at a 0% win rate on the Roger. Fact speaks for itself. Julian pick, he hasn't picked up the Julian for some reason. I don't know why. Nolan, he's been doing still okay on because the damage is still there. Even though the nerfs on his second skill was seen, he can still make it work, which is cool. But now that the Roger has been taken away, it's no longer a threat. No one cares about it. He doesn't play Julian anymore because it lacks the clear, like it's not as fast of a clearer, a jungle clearer as it was before. He can only rely on the Nolan. And in the last 3 or 2 matches, Nolan has always been banned or taken away from him. That leaves him to go for Ling or Fanny. But he can't go Ling or Fanny. Hayabusa, he can't go Hayabusa. So when you can't go Ling, Fanny, and Hayabusa, when you're the one forced to ban the Ling, Fanny, and Hayabusa, how's that going to play out later on? Against Rebellion, you could still get away with that because Rebellion don't play Ling, Fanny, Hayabusa. They have the same problem. They got Aether. We want to compare Vincent to Aether? I don't think so. I think it's more disrespectful to say Vincent is on the same level as Aether than it is saying Vincent is the worst jungler at MPL because Aether is not MPL worthy, in my opinion. That's why I'm saying Vincent is the worst jungler at MPL because he's actually an MPL jungler, MPL level jungler. And the reason I'm saying he's the worst is because he's the worst on Assassins. I see his potential. We all know how good he is on retry. We all know how good he is on utility. He needs to be placed on these utility junglers to try to even face off against the Fanny, Ling, and Hayabusa. Because imagine this. He can't play Fanny, Ling, and Hayabusa in the playoffs. Imagine if this still happens, right? Same issue with the Roger, same issue with the Julian, same issue with the Nolan. Nolan gets banned out. Now we have these 3 assassins that are meta right now and are very, very strong. You go up against Fnatic Onic, you go up against Alter Ego, you go up against Bigetron, Liquid, RRQ, the top 5 teams in the league. How are you going to beat the Fanny, Ling, and Hayabusa without banning it out if this remains an issue? His utility jungler hasn't been worked on. On the Bane, he's still very rusty. I still think he's really good on the utility, and he can be good. But it's time for Geek Fam to really work on that. Because, yeah, it'll definitely be an issue for Geek Fam. You can see that some of their picks as well have to pick up some of these crucial picks for themselves just to leave, Vincent in a good spot, which is tough. Because if your whole draft kind of circulates on one guy getting his picks, one guy getting comfortable, and the rest has to cover for him, it could be drastic. It'll still be good for regular season. They'll still get wins. But in the playoffs, when it's do or die, this is a problem that remains to be seen for Geek Fam. And they can fix it. I know BBB can fix it. Big Brain Beloy. He'll definitely find a way to implement Vincent's style into, their own playstyle. Maybe we get the alphas now. But yeah, Geek Fam definitely have to fix that. That is a big problem. And for me, because of that, I'm going to have to put Geek Fam to mid-table for now. They have a match against Bigetron Alpha. I really hope they adjust and make those adjustments against BTR because Geek Fam can make those adjustments, guys. And we've seen Geek Fam do really good this season. They beat Fnatic Onic. They were able to beat Bigetron Alpha in the first leg as well. So, yeah, I think Geek Fam definitely have a chance to get up again and do well in the playoffs. But they have to fix that issue. For now, I would actually even put them below Alter Ego. Because Alter Ego look... Nah, you know what? That's a bit too far. Do I? Nah, yeah. Alter Ego are still a one-trick pony. I won't put them below Alter Ego. They only play well when Owen gets got that for now. Yeah, Geek Fam right there. I think it's fair. Now let's move on to Bigetron Alpha. Oh man, this is sad, but I've already spoken about this many times. You guys probably know. I'll play the clip here. Let's play the clip. Right, Bigetron versus FNOC Game 2, because this is a painful clip. This is very painful. I'm not gonna go through everything again, but basically, Game 1, Bigetron were down 8,000 gold, and they were able to win with this draft. The only thing different in this draft was they had an Arlet in XP, not Terizla. This is the only thing that's different from Game 1, right? And coming into Game number 2, they had the exact same draft except for the Arlet. This draft is exactly the same as well for Fnatic Onic. And instead of being 8,000 gold behind to Fnatic Onic, they're actually 1k gold ahead by the 14th minute. And with this composition, you don't need to be ahead. All you need to do is go even. If you go even in the first 14 minutes, you're fine. And that's what they're doing here. That's why they're winning in every single team fight before this. And I'll prove it to you by playing in the team fights. Even here, they're just going in randomly. Here, they've already lost key, so it's a 4v5. They still end up winning the team fight, which just goes to show that they are just, their drafts are way better. Their drafts are just, 4v5, by the way. 4v5. They decide to go for this, which is still fine, because I would say base turret for Gatot Kacha's life, for Terizla's life is okay. Good zoning there. And then they have a chance to actually back away. They could have backed away here, right? They did enough damage to Suns and to CW, but they instead went in. They instead tried to go for more. Eman went for the chase. They could have very easily just pulled back here. There's no reason for them to go in like that. Super Luke could have sacrificed himself, gave the crossbow tang over. Eman Moreno and Key could have left here, and that would leave them in a good spot, because Super Ken would respawn. 4 of their main players would be there. Luke would be dead, but he's a sacrificial lamb anyways. But they instead looked to fight. Crossbow tang, boom, bang, bada bing. Everybody died. Wow. After this, they got the Lord. Fnatic Onic got the Lord. They got the turret. They got everything. And this is why I said earlier that Fnatic Onic, they're so good at capitalizing on mistakes. And for Bigetron, they're back to Season 11, it seems, Bigetron, right? It's Bigot Throw all over again. They would have a great lead. They would have an amazing draft. And then they would just choke. Yeah, they would just literally choke, because this game is so winnable, and they choke. They literally just choked. At this point, it was just really well played by Fnatic Onic, because again, Fnatic Onic are an amazing team with great players. If this was any other team, they would probably just look to fight with a gold lead. But look at what Fnatic Onic did when they have the 2 base turrets taken. They avoid fights. They don't want to go for fights. They never want to go for fights. Kyrie's recalling. He could have easily gone for Iman, tried to look for a kill, but he knows there's no reason to fight. Bigetron's composition will always win in a 5v5 pure fight out of the base. So if we already have the base turrets, all we need to do is clear out the waves, play out for the Lord, play with our macro, right, which is CW going up top, not Kyrie, because he needs to be here for the team fight. And then with the top lane slow pushing, I don't know if you guys can see, but the top lane is slow pushing there. They could just go for a free Lord. Angela's right there, and the zone is there. And look what Fnatic Onic do. They say, no, I'm not fighting. We get the Lord, we just siege. Adjustments, really well played, adjustments from Fnatic Onic. And then they end the game with the Lord. Crisp, clean MLBB from Fnatic Onic in terms of execution. The drafts could do, could get some work too, but this is where I see a big problem is for BTR 2, because Game 2 throw is an obvious mistake. But Game 3, still forcing out the same draft after losing Gatot Kacha, after losing a core component in the draft for this composition, is where it's in a way, BTR have a lot of different strategies, right? They were able to pull off the Alice, the Angela, the Gatot Kacha here, and they were able to pull off some other strategies in the past. But they're template. So their cheese strats are template. That's something that teams could capitalize on for Bigetron Alpha. This is the weakness, I would say, for BTR. When their cheese strat gets read out, and when some of these bans get taken away, they will lose out. In this game, it's one of the best examples for this. Because it's the Alice pick and the Angela pick still, despite seeing a Gatot Kacha ban. I think after seeing the Gatot Kacha ban, they should have just been all right, let's play the game normally. Let's not try, these strategies, this kind of strategy anymore, because without the Gatot Kacha, the sustain is not there. The Angela is still there, but it's not enough. And then they go for Moskov, which is completely different. Here, we have a draft pick recap. What makes this composition work is Beatrix gets online super quick. So she is this is the pick to actually hold them off in the early game. These two, plus the XP, well, technically all four. To cover for the weakness of Alice in the early game, these four need to step up. But when you when you don't get the Gatot, when you get a Moskov here instead of the Beatrix, it just all goes to shit because Beatrix gets his power spike with 2 items. Sky Piercer and BOD. That's it. That's all you need to actually look for early game, mid game dominance. Moskov needs 3 items and then a Wind of Nature against this composition, against Haya. So it's 4 items for Moskov. It's 3 items technically for the Wind of Nature too for Beatrix, right? So Beatrix needs 3. SP, Sky Piercer, BOD, and Wind of Nature. For Moskov to be online, he needs 3 plus the Wind of Nature to try to beat the Hayabusa. So he gets online so much like later in the game. He has 3 very expensive items. This Sky Piercer is very cheap. BOD is expensive, but 2 items still cheaper than this 3 gets online real quick as well because Moskov doesn't do well at all in the early game. Beatrix still does really good when it comes to clear. So getting the Moskov to replace the Beatrix is a big issue for me. And then it's the 1-1 Tigreal. They decided to go for, I forgot what they went for as their last pick, but it wasn't something I liked. They go for the Grok. At this point, it's just like they would just lose the early game. This is such a bad early game comp. Like the Alice now is going to be shit on. Like, I don't. Let's slow down here. Arlet will lose in the lane against Khalid. Moskov takes a while, right? Alice also takes a while. This is snowball. This is just they're controlling every single neutral objective. They're gonna get a massive lead. This is as easy as that. And they give Grok over to Valentina. Picking a Grok here against Valen is also very, very questionable, right? So yeah, there you go. Bigetron have really good cheese picks and cheese strats, but they don't know how to implement or improv on the go, which is a big problem. They have a like one-dimensional cheese strat in a way. That's a big problem for BTR. So it's also not just composure in the game itself, but it's also composure to finish off their drafts. It looks very rushed. So because of that, I'm going to have to put Bigetron Alpha. Yeah, I think at this place, I think in the standings as well, it makes sense that they are here. But they need to fix these mistakes because I'll say, this might be the bias coming out of me, but I honestly feel like Bigetron could be like this level. They have the potential to be at that level. They need to work on discipline. They need to work on composure. They need to work on the drafts as well, like the improv moments in the drafts, because those are the big mistakes that I see from them. Unnecessary mistakes because of discipline. We won't talk about that because we already mentioned discipline. Yeah, Bigetron definitely down here. I don't think they're on the level of RRQ, Liquid, and Fnatic Onic yet, based on week 8. But now let's move on to the last 2 teams. All right, we'll start with RRQ Hoshi. I guess we'll go for RRQ Hoshi first and then TLID. RRQ Hoshi, they are very textbook discipline. Remember what I said about the scouting reports when we were talking on stream? That I got scouting reports saying that RRQ Hoshi in scrims just look very textbook, look very disciplined. Discipline in a textbook manner. Which is great, by the way. You want to have discipline. But when you're too textbook, it does give a lot of leeway for all the other teams to read you out. And I think that's what Alter Ego and EVOS were able to do. EVOS played it in a very chaotic way. They just looked for team fights, and RRQ were staggered because of the chaos. This has been an issue for Keskute, by the way. When he was in Bigetron Alpha too, whenever he goes up against a very chaotic team, that's when the team actually struggles. So I think it's the same here, looking at RRQ. Losing to Alter Ego in the same way, losing out to these chaotic battles, and not respecting the Gatot Kacha. I think RRQ needs to fix the respect in the draft and also how to handle chaotic teams. Because there are ways as a disciplined team to beat chaotic teams. I think there are more ways for a disciplined team to beat a chaotic team than it is for a chaotic team to beat a disciplined team. Because in the match against Alter Ego too, they were making some very, very like non-RRQ mistakes. RRQ, they're known for being disciplined this season. They could have very easily traded across the map when Alter Ego looked for neutral objectives, but Dyron and Rins wanted to go for the contest for some reason. So even then, they're losing out on the textbook/discipline playstyle that they've had for the entire season. They need to remember that their upper bracket slot is still at stake. They can't risk to be playing their game randomly. They have to stick to the game plan, to whatever draft is given to them, and they need to understand that when Sutsujin doesn't have Retri, when the team clearly doesn't want to fight. They shouldn't. I think it's easy. Like, we'll just talk about it. We'll just bring out the game here. Let's move to the first turtle position. First turtle. Okay, let's just skip to the first turtle. So Sutsujin, look at Sutsujin, right? Alter Ego have the better control right now. It's a Khalid Arlet matchup. Nino gets more space first. He backs away. Owen goes into the enemy jungle, which is a great move. Owen here. Sutsujin has to use the retry here. Boom. Uses the retribution. Owen is still able to survive. Baits out so many resources. Gets out. Any other game for RRQ and they would be like, yeah, okay, Sutsujin used retry. Let's not fight the turtle. But this game, for some reason, they decided to still go for the turtle. It's just like, did you really expect a 3v5 against a Feramis when Edoc's not level 4, when they're all down on levels to win out? Sutsujin isn't even here. When I was casting this, I was confused too. I was like, wait, that's not an RQ move. That looks like a rebellion move or an alter ego before the patch move, you know? Just contesting for every neutral objective with no like vision. It's very, very weird. And we see this all throughout the game. Like, they keep on making these mistakes where they just contest for the neutral objectives when, again, here, strong side clearly for Alter Ego. 2,000 gold lead. Strong side for Alter Ego. Why is it strong side? Because it's a Bruno versus Claude matchup, and Bruno is a level ahead. So Highs, at this point of the game, is significantly stronger than Skylar. Alter Ego's team is significantly stronger than RRQ's because they have a Khalid. They have a 2,000 gold lead. The gold lead speaks for itself. They contest for the neutral objective still. Like, RRQ still decide to look for it, right? And obviously they lose out here. They lose out, and instead of getting, you know, Skylar usually on top to look for farm, to maybe even get a turret together with Sutsujin, no, they decided to look for these fights, and Skylar basically got nothing out of this. He didn't get farm, he didn't get nothing, he didn't get anything. They lose out a turret because of this too, so it's double value for Alter Ego. And then they decide to fight again, like a couple of times, instead of just farming out. These random fights waste time, guys. It actually delays the power spike for RRQ. Like, it looks like it's random for Alter Ego, which it is, but this is why I'm saying the chaotic style of Alter Ego was able to beat RRQ, because usually RRQ are so disciplined. They know when to get their power spikes. They know how to get their power spikes through just farming. But because Alter Ego keeps looking for these random fights, RRQ keep getting baited into it, and because of that, some of these players get advantages. Nile is a level ahead. Nino is 2 levels ahead. Highs is a level ahead. And then it just snowballed all the way. But RQ were still able to keep composed. They were still able to look for trades. But I think it was a bit too late. Like, at this point of the game, they were too far behind against a composition like this. Because Alter Ego's comp, it isn't like it's a full early game comp. They have ways to take over the mid and late game too with the Feramis and the Bruno. So yeah, because they wasted so much time in the early game, this 4,000 gold lead led to them losing out a lot, and it led to them basically going for, like, they had to go for a desperate moment to win the game. And in the end, it was Nino who got the better moment because they were able to turn it around. But I think, again, right, like, imagine if they didn't need to turn this around. Imagine if they had this kind of a lead at the start. Even though Alter Ego has a good composition for early to mid, RQ, if they stayed even, at this point, they would have been able to win the game already. But they made so many crucial mistakes. So it really is, the point for me for RRQ is it's very easily fixable mistakes. It's very easy to fix these mistakes for RRQ because this is not normal RRQ. They can stay disciplined, okay? But for now, I'm going to have to say that, wait, where is it? Where's my tier list? All right, I'm going to have to say that RRQ will go down. TLID look much more disciplined, look much better when it comes to those trades and stuff, but I still think RQ should be able to beat Team Liquid, by the way. I'm rating this based on Week 8's performance, right? If we're rating it based on the entire season, I would still say RQ is probably the cleanest team in MLB, in MPL ID. But yeah, right now RQ will get demoted from my top spot to the bottom, to second place, because of their performance. Very easily they could take it back, though, I would say. Like, they can win against TLID. So yeah, here it is. There it is. And now let's move on to TL. Now for TLID, I honestly feel like the team is pretty complete. Like, they are a very complete team. they have everything going on for them. Aran is a good enabler who plays a lot of different heroes. You could even play the Gatot Kacha in the XP, which has been doing so well. The jungle, FAVIANN, is a mad lad. He is number 1 in the MVP regular season standings, by the way, now, after a player of the week back-to-back to getting all the MVPs. This guy's a special player. Mid lane, Yehezkiel is such a fresh sight to see. Like, he is a mid laner who had an ego back in the day in terms of his playstyle, not in his interviews, because he's pretty selfish when he plays. Previously in Aura last season, he was playing all the way in the back. He was trying to play for the plays, like the big moments and stuff. He had that ego. He's a blue lock character. But this season he still has that ego. He still can carry when necessary, but for the most part, he knows how good the new rookies are. He knows how good FAVIANN is. He knows how good Aaron Shiki is. So he gives the carry role over to them, and he plays the Vexanas, the Auroras. He's literally like Hijume from DEWA in week 1 to 3. He plays to enable the gold and the jungle, Ray and Watt. But this is for FAVIANN and Aaron, and it's another level of assassin jungler, FAVIANN, another level of gold laner, Aaron. And Yehezkiel plays that role really, really well. I gotta give him a shout out. Witty, the Wise, my personal favorite player on TLID. Like, out of all of them, Aran was my favorite, but man, Witty is so cool. Really smart player, makes all the calls in the game, and the mic checks you can hear. I think Arashi pointed this out as well, but he gives the plan. He lays out the plans to everybody. He says, plan A, plan B, plan C. If this doesn't happen, we do this. If this doesn't happen, we do this. And everybody's just quiet because they listen to him. He's the main shot caller to the team. And mechanically, maybe he isn't on the level of Yaoi on the Cho. He's still getting there, right? He still has the potential to maybe reach that level. But even if he doesn't, his brain is what makes TLID complete. With all these mechanics, with all these star players, you have to have a wise man. And that's what Witty the Wise right there. There is one thing that I will say, because in their gameplay, it looks so clean. It looks so good. There's not much for me to nitpick. Maybe the only nitpick that I will give out is game 1 against Alter Ego. They played the Ling, Angela, Ruby. Ling, jungle, Angela Angela roam, Ruby gold lane. And that composition is very reliant on getting a snowball in the early game. So very one-dimensional. But that was just a draft issue in my opinion. Like, they tried to go for that draft. They gambled it. They couldn't get it. Game 2, they adjusted. Game 3, they adjusted. So again, they're able to work on their mistakes on the go. That's why they're the most impressive. They are one of the teams that can actually like improv and adapt on the fly, which is something that I actually have to say we rarely see from Indonesian teams. The only Indonesian teams that I've seen do that before is Fnatic Onic. Back in their prime, season 11, MSC, Snapdragon, season 12, and then M5. They're the only team to actually adjust on the go. TL, I see that from them. They look like a Filipino team. That's a standard right now, right? Philippines, best region in the world, and if you can play the way the Filipinos do, then you're good. And I think TLID actually falls under that category. They're very complete in that way. I will have to say as well, if we want to nitpick, losing out on the first few neutral objectives can hurt them if they're up against an aggressive team. Like, if they're up against a team that can actually control the early game better and dominate them in the early game while also stopping the trades from happening, that could be a way to beat Liquid. And I think that's what Alter Ego did too in game number 1 against them. So there are still some holes in their game, but they're able to close up and cover those holes really fast, is what I'm saying. The only real problem I see isn't the nitpicks that I was giving you earlier. The only real problem I see from TLID is if they get complacent, if they get too happy with their performance, if they stagnate. That's the main problem. And if they go above and beyond, not in their performance, but on some other things. I said this already in the content that I did with KB, but Aaron Shiki, the way that he trash talked Nino was, honestly, it was on the line. It wasn't it was already getting to a personal matter. If you guys don't know, this is the context. He said in the interview against Nino, after beating Alter Ego, he said that as long as Nino plays XP for Alter Ego will never win. And Nino needs to go back to the gold lane so that he can retire Nino. He said it has much more of an umph when it comes to the delivery of that line in Indonesian than it is in English. In English, it sounds very tame. But it sounded like it was a bit personal. I thought it was a bit personal. I was like, all right, whatever though. It was just on the line. It didn't cross the line yet. But then information came about to me, to everybody in the internet, that Aaron Shiki also didn't want to fist bump Nino. That's where I had a problem. Like, if you don't like the guy, I don't know why you would not like he's already clarified it, by the way, that he doesn't have any problems with Nino. That was like, he said sorry and everything. So it's just weird that he did that. If you want to trash talk, it's fine. I feel like trash talk is cool. Doing good in the interview is amazing. I don't want them to stop. But fist bump is just this fist bump, you know, like sportsmanship, bro. If you want to trash talk, it's fine. You know, winners get to say whatever they want, but you need to show some respect to your opponents. Show your respect to the other pro players in the league, you know. Just fist bump. It's not that hard to do. It's not like they're asking you to do much. So yeah, hopefully they don't get the star syndrome, you know, thing. Hopefully they are able to keep a level ground, stay humble. Interviews stay the same though. I really hope they don't lose that. He's getting into a lot of drama recently, so I think he might stop going for the full spicy mode. But yeah, that's something to work on for TLID. Nothing to move here. TLID, currently, I will put them at number 1. So there you go. That's for the tier list. Now let's move on to the player ratings. Okay, so let's move on to the player ratings when it comes to XP. Let's start with XP first. Number 1, I'm going to have to say, fuck it, I'm going to say Aran. He's playing his role really, really well based on Week 8's performance. Number 2, I will say, based on Week 2, Rez. I'm really impressed by Rez. Like, Rez does a really good job in the game. He enables the team so well. Number 3, Dyron, based on Week 8. In the jungle, I'm going to have to say, number 1, FAVIANN, based on Week 8. Sutsujin, number 2. And number 3, Nile. Yeah, I'll have to give it to Nile with his crazy performance in Week 8. Honestly, it would be, you know what? Based on Week 8, FAVIANN, Nile, Sutsujin. Nile's Ling play. Oh my god, that ridiculous. Based on Week 8, number 1, I will put mid lane. For mid lane, Yehezkiel, I think I'll put Yehezkiel there. Number 2, I would actually give it to Roundel. He was pretty impressive this week. And number 3, I'll give it to a boy. The top 4 teams actually didn't really impress. Like Moreno, Sans, and Rins didn't really impress me this week. Yeah, I'll give it over to those 3 players. Yehezkiel, Roundel, and a boy for week number 8. Rome is super tough. It is super tough, but I guess I'll give it over to Widdy, Keyboy, and Edok. Widdy, number 1, Keyboy, and then Edok. Widdy because he's just smart. He was able to get, you know, the calls. It's a lackluster week for mid lane and roamer. I'm gonna be honest with you. For the gold lane, I will say CW, number 1 for sure. That's for sure. It's a tough week actually to talk about gold lane too. Like, aside from CW, I don't really think anyone really impressed me. Skylar kind of dipped this week. Aaron Shiki, even though he won, it wasn't really like a crazy performance. But I guess we'll put Aaron Shiki there. Fuck it. And for number 3, do we want to put Skylar there? Or no, Skylar this week didn't really impress me. So, what do we... I actually don't know. I guess I'll just put CW and Aaron Chiki. I don't think anyone deserves to be in the top 3 right now. But yeah, that is it for the player rankings. All right, boys, here it is. These are the match predictions for week number 9. Bigetron against Geek Fam. This is 70-30. It should be Bigetron. I will give them the win 2-0. Rebellion versus DEWA. I'll give DEWA the win 2-1. Geek Fam versus EVOS. I think they should be able to take the game. But EVOS could... This is 50-50, honestly. Like, EVOS are really good right now. They're not bad. But yeah, I would rate Geek Fam still. TLID RRQ, based on, you know, the previous week, TLID are coming in as the favorites. But for some reason, I think RRQ will make, you know, some proper adjustments here. I know if they win here, TLID or Bigetron will not make its upper brackets, but that's Bigetron's fault for not winning more games in a regular season. We won't talk about that. 2-1 RRQ, I think. I think RRQ should be able to get it done, but this is another 50-50 matchup. Like, these two are 50-50. Fnatic Onic versus Alter Ego. Ooh, this is another fire matchup. I think it should be a 2-0, unfortunately. I think Fnatic Onic just do really well against chaotic teams like this. DEWA versus Fnatic Onic should be another 2-0. Alter Ego versus BTR. I also think they do really well against chaotic teams, and I think they will be able to beat Alter Ego. If it's not 2-0, 2-1. This is Fnatic Onic, and these Fnatic Onic matches, I think, are like pretty guaranteed almost. But this one is like 2-0 or 2-1. This is a bit more 70-30 in my opinion. But yeah, I'll just put 2-1 here. RRQ Rebellion should be another 2-0. So this is how I see week 9 going. And if this does happen, I believe we will have a tiebreaker. I believe DEWA and Alter Ego will both be tied. So we'll have at least one tiebreaker if my predictions come out right. There you go. Let me know what you think is going to happen based on week number 9 or like based on week 8's performance for week number 9 in the comment section down below. And I'll see you guys in the next mirror recap. Peace out. Thank you.